Well, Hudson County viewers, thanks for joining us again. I am your host, the Reflection of Perfection, your number one selection, John R. Highness, and I'm joined with Freeholder Anthony Romano. Freeholder, it's a pleasure.
John, thank you so much for inviting me. I didn't realize you were such a poet laureate.
I have a number of skills people don't know about, but today let's talk about you. So, as we were going to talk about, I'd like to get into the history of things, and my understanding is when you were going to be a freeholder, it wasn't something that was in the cards, it was just something that kind of happened in the 11th hour that came to you less than 24 hours before the HCDO was going to make their selection. I believe I know the story, but I don't think most people do, so can you enlighten us?
Well, as basic and quickly as possible, it was the day of filing, the day before filing. And I was chosen due to the withdrawal of another Hoboken police captain. And that's how I fell into it. Mayor Roberts, Senator Stack, and at that time Mayor Healy all agreed that I would be their choice.
All right, and why was this something that interested you? Obviously, you didn't have a lot of time to think about it, but why was county government something that you decided to take a stab at?
Honestly, I was very curious and honored that those seasoned veteran elected officials chose me. As a police captain, that was where my heart and head was at that time, and it was interesting that I would be able to do both, and I enjoyed working and helping people as a police captain, and this just gave another dimension to the inter-community feeling that I always have.
All right, that makes sense. Now, obviously, a lot of people have some negative feelings about the county government, particularly in Jersey City and Hoboken, because annually, their taxes go up. So, I know you've talked about the formula and some problems that are experienced, not just at the county level, at the state level. So could you explain to us why, whenever there's a budget passed, typically Jersey City and Hoboken feel it?
Putting it as basically simply as possible, it's due to the ratables and the way the formula, which is a very old formula, works. As each city is successful, you're basically punished for your success tax-wise. And it's not something that a lot of people don't understand. And because of Hoboken and Jersey City's booming growth over the course of the last 20 years, this is the result tax-wise of what's taken place. Because of the way people feel, I voted against the budget, but at the same time, I understand all the shared services and all the things that county government, both the freeholders and the county executive, do for Hoboken and Jersey City. I hope people realize.
Gotcha. So on that point, could you just tell us a little bit about what they do? Obviously, the county government, they oversee a lot of roads, they do a lot of park maintenance. Could you give us a little more detail, though?
You know, ironically, John, the word freeholder is archaic. It's the only state in the United States left that uses it. They're called in most other states, for example, in Florida, the Board of County Commissioners. In our role in Hudson County, we have the county jail, county OEM, prosecutor's office, sheriff's department, corrections, county hospitals, the wonderful county middle school, Explore 2000, the wonderful county, very well-rated Hudson County Schools of Technologies, County Prep and High Tech, and the Hudson County Community College, which has grown in leaps and bounds, as well as our county roads. In Hoboken, I don't know why historically, but we have a large number for a mile square of county streets. So we pave those streets, we plow them. In addition to that, the county has always been amenable to any mayor's request or any freeholder's request to help them on other streets with regards to the plowing.
Sure. So with that policy-related stuff out of the way, let's talk a little politics. So back in 2013, of course, the last mayoral contest, there was a lot of chatter that you might jump into the race. Obviously, you ultimately did not. So what I wanted to ask you was that more rumor and speculation, or were you actually really considering maybe putting your name on the ballot then?
For freeholder?
For mayor in 2013.
No, that was speculation and rumors because Ruben Ramos had already stated he was running. And I was just, people were throwing my name around.
So, of course, as you just alluded to, back then, you were still the freeholder, and that was what you won. Of course, now your infamous Off the Line campaign. And now, again, you're still the freeholder. You won the June primary, but this time you will be seeking the mayor's seat. So, 4 years is a long time, and as you know, it's a really long time in politics. But what changed for you between now and then when you said this is the time?
They say sometimes the stars have to line up, and I felt that After the announcement by Mayor Zimmer that she would not seek re-election, I felt it would be an open field, and this may be, I didn't want it to be a squandered opportunity to at least give it a shot to achieve the office of the mayor.
So now the elephant in the room, at least up to this point surrounding your campaign, is, of course, again, you are the freeholder, you're seeking the mayor's seat. Both elections are on November 7th. You know, my first guest on the show, Dana Weaver, she said it would take a lot of gall for somebody to do that. One of your mayoral opponents, Mike DeFusco, said he couldn't believe the level of entitlement to even consider being on the ballot twice. And we'll get into him more later. But what do you think when people say these kind of things about the potential of you being on the ballot 2 times?
Well, for example, if somebody like Michael feels that way, is he going to resign his council seat? That would be my question. I think that's deflecting from the issues, as opposed, it's not as if I knew this was going to take place. Mm-hmm. I ran, I won my primary for re-election to freeholder, and then the mayor withdrew after the primary. So, with that being said, that we have no runoff, and I decided to give it a chance. Some people may think of it negatively, but I believe that I still want to be involved in government.
So today, August 18th, if the election was tomorrow, which it obviously isn't, in reality it's November 7th, but, humor me for a second. If it was tomorrow and you had to pick one, what would you do?
Pick one what?
Pick one office, whether that be freeholder or mayor.
Mayor.
Okay.
And obviously, one is not allowed by law to hold 2 offices. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be the crux of most people's concern. I cannot hold 2 offices, so therefore I can only, serve in one.
All right. And there's been some speculation, and, people talk, and you know how Hoboken is politically, but there's been some speculation that there will be a ballot challenge on this from one of the opposing camps. I mean, does that concern you, bother you, anything at all?
No, that's why we have a legal team, and I think it was already vetted. As you've seen, also the lieutenant governor is Sheila Alva, that's running for lieutenant governor, is going to be on the ballot also twice.
Right, for the assembly. But the difference there is there's no nominating petitions for lieutenant governor, so I don't know if that'll come into play, but obviously after September 7th, or 6th, it's going to be very interesting, needless to tell you. But, all right, so with that all said, we've heard from some of the other challengers, Ravi Bala, DeFusco, they're talking about, building schools, city-run pools, rec programs. So we haven't heard too much from your camp on that frame. So just talking about some agendas about the mayor's office if elected. Give me a couple things you have in mind. And by the way, I will note that I know you were talking about teaming up with Stevens Institute of Technology in the past and doing a new school, but so you could expand on that if you like, but beyond that, what do you have in mind?
Sure. I mean, I've discussed in different interviews some of my thoughts and my protocols that I would like to formulate. First and foremost, I think the traffic congestion at both ends of town needs to be rectified. With my experience as a police commander at night and working and observing different conditions and being part of the 9/11 evacuation from New York using Hoboken to serve either victims of 9/11 at the hospital or as an exit out of the area, I think that we definitely need some reconfiguration. Obviously, Jackson Street also. The traffic is bottlenecking to the point where people are actually going in other lanes. So I think that's important. I think the infrastructure here, what's being done on Washington Street, planning has to be better. Obviously, there's a need for the new water pipes. But why, in my mind, wasn't it done when the gas pipes were replaced? And why is it, happening where the traffic is so bad that businesses are now choking because they can't get their deliveries?
If I could interject for a moment, so would you agree with Councilman Ramos on the Washington Street construction that there's too many bump outs and it's just creating too much congestion?
Without a doubt, the bump outs, I don't understand, from what I've been told by fire officials and as well as New Jersey Transit people, the buses and the fire trucks cannot make the turns. They are so far out, to me it's ridiculous. And I think the centerpiece of Washington Street was the repaving of the roads and the installation of modern traffic control devices for the safety of pedestrians, not putting out bulb outs and grass plots with little fences. Mm-hmm. Because now, and you keep eliminating parking spaces. So I agree 100% that is a problem. going back to other things, that obviously I had stated early on that a municipal pool would be a priority. I think that one of the candidates made a statement about taking property. No, I think we have a centerpiece of property down the old chemical plant site where you can put a nice pool. I believe also in the expansion of the police...
BASF site?
Yes, and I believe in the expansion of the police department. I'd also like, going back to that, the BASF site, to see that part of the field. I play, we enjoy active sports, and there's no field in Hoboken besides Stevens, which is being used and it's private,
Sure.
and the Hoboken High Field, which is in constant use. With that being said, I think there should be, with the growth of the population down in the area under the viaduct, we should have some kind of a police presence. I would like to see, both in the federal housing area and down under the viaduct, police precincts. And I would also like to see up by Hudson Street, the police has outgrown that facility, and maybe that could be utilized to have a parking garage, and then give the police department a nice complex, new, maybe in the part of the development of Observer Highway. And that's some of my priorities. I would like to see, with regards to the schools, we have a high school that's
Yes.
not being utilized right now. It's a nice building, and it isn't being maximized to its usage. So I would hope to think that we can do something with that building. But with regards to the primary schools, there hasn't been a new school built in Hoboken, a real school, since 1971, Wallace. Calabro, which was built in 76, was more of an experimental school. No gymnasium, it was open classrooms for that time. So I think that working with Dr. Johnson, because we, mayors and council people, do not demand and make new schools. You have to work and find out how you're going to get a new school. And I think for a lot of the new people here, I feel that part of the apprehension, while the primary grades are growing, they want to see new facilities. I attended a Board of Education meeting, and it was just not conducive to parents being involved or attending.
Lots of infighting.
Well, not so much the info, but the facility itself.
Oh, the
There was
facility
no air
itself.
condition, it was dingy, and for myself, I'm glad, with my educational experience, would look forward to working with the Board of Education and with Dr. Johnson to solve some of our problems and issues.
All right, all sounds like interesting concepts. So, again, back to the political end. So, we're obviously, about just over 3 weeks away from the filing deadline. And typically it's not till after Labor Day where the campaigns really start to be heavy hitting, but it appears to me that you and Councilman DeFusco are already at a bit of a blood feud. So my understanding is that Ray Ferrioli, his current campaign fundraiser, used to work for you, and you guys, I believe, were friends, but obviously that's not the case there anymore. So what happened there?
I can't explain to you what Ray is feeling. I was only surprised at some of his actions. I'll put it to you like that. But I guess, politics means that much to him.
I understand there was a confrontation not too long ago between you two at a fellow elected officials event. What was that about?
He was just very upset that I was going to run for mayor.
All right, and I guess that was resolved amicably?
Not really.
All right, so with Ray out of the picture for a moment, I mean, you and Mike just aren't seeing eye to eye. I mean, again, from what I was told, you guys met many months ago, way before there were any declared candidates. Mayor Zimmer was still planning to run again. Many months ago, you guys met, and my understanding, I mean, you tell me if this is accurate, was he basically said he's the young stallion that's going to take Hoboken to the promised land, and you're the old horse that needs to be put out to pasture. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that was what I was told. I mean, was that more or less how the meeting went down?
Well, sometimes perception becomes reality. We didn't meet months ago. Well, I guess now at this time it's been a few months. And he discussed what he was going to do. And, I basically said how I felt.
All right, so play it a coy, no problem. But let me ask you this. So between the four top-tier candidates, obviously most people believe it's yourself, DeFusco, Bala and Council President Giattino. What's your secret weapon? I guess it would be a secret if you told me, but what makes you stand out from the crowd in your mind among the Hoboken voters?
Well, first I'd like to say I learned a long time ago from a very strong political mentor that you run scared, you run as if you're last, and you run with humility. And I think that those are three things that I like to remember always. I respect all my competition, and they're all strong in my eyes. With that being said, I have, I think, leadership skills proven. Leadership skills with regards to my experience as a police captain and commanding different incidents, and with an understanding through community policing. And growing up here is an advantage that I feel because I know where we were, I know where we are, and I know where we'd like to see this wonderful city go. I believe I have an innate ability to accept criticism because as an elected official, everyone has a right to criticize their elected officials, and an ability to work with everyone. I believe it's one Hoboken. And I've always prided myself on the fact to go that extra yard to try to understand and work with, whether someone moved into town yesterday, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or they're born and raised. Because there is, at one point years ago, there was such a disconnect that has started to fade by nature, not by anyone's doing, just by the nature of the beast. You know, someone now, I've seen talking to someone recently that's 21 years old. He was born here, so he's born and raised.
Right.
So I think that over the course of time, naturally, that'll be fading as many of the quote-unquote born and raised either moved out or pass on. But I consider it a challenge to work with any group, and I think that's one of my strong points. And hopefully to get things done, to problem solve, not blame. I think there's been so much blaming and divisiveness that it's time to just work together and try to solve problems. If your solution is not working, then your ego can't get in the way. You move on and find another way to solve a problem.
So speaking of working together, Senator Stack and yourself had a bit of a falling out last month for what some have considered to be a petty reason. I mean, I don't know what your take is, but I mean, some were quite dramatic in the sense that they believe that if Senator Stack doesn't support your campaign, the campaign's essentially over because he'll be working against you. I mean, what do you think of that mindset?
Well, first and foremost, I respect Senator Stack. I look forward to working with him, whether it be as the mayor of this city or as the freeholder. I've always worked with him and his wonderful representative, Freeholder Tilo Rivas. I think that there's some people trying to accelerate a situation that, in some ways, trying to better themselves. Again, I have nothing but the utmost regard for Senator Stack and what he has done both as a mayor and a senator.
All right, makes sense. So, with all that, is there anything else you wanted to tell us about today that you thought would make you a remarkably, particularly good mayor?
Well, I've been blessed with some wonderful people that have helped me, especially over the course of the last couple of years. And I have to start, first and foremost, by someone who has stuck by me through good times and bad times. That's my Chief of Staff, Marilyn Rivera. And I think she's morphed into so many things besides her own business and accepted so many accolades and awards. Pablo Fonseca, that to me was the turning point in my political career. He showed me organizational skills and the ability to have that political knowledge. And other people that have been involved with myself. I have Dr. Sadeghi from St. Peter's University, Michelle Savino from the Golden Door, and another Jersey City person. And I think that's helped me because an ability to become mayor, to know that you work with different levels of government and different institutions that you want to bring to your city. We're not an island. We want to work together for the betterment of this city. And having these people around me, I mean, we even have some volunteers that come down and help from the wonderful West New York High School, led by one of the board members, Stephen Rodas, and Kelly Soto. They've all contributed and to help me form a team, because it's not myself that is going to win for mayor. It's not myself that is going to govern if I'm elected mayor. It's going to take a team. And another reason I'm very proud of our council slate. To your surprise, I'm sure, I met Lainey Hammond and hit it off. Her energy and enthusiasm, her sincerity, her caring for this city. The legendary Buddy Matthews.
So an exclusive for us. That hasn't been formally announced yet.
Okay, we're in the stages, the final stages of consideration. But what he shows for children, because I want the new mothers in this city, to understand that I'm going to work with them. They have concerns that need to be heard. Dave Mello,
Sure.
who originally was a very strong supporter of the mayor and the administration. And then over the period of time, especially the last 2 years, there was a disconnect or a break. And I got to speak to David. We don't agree on everything. But here's someone as a teacher, a public school teacher, which I think is important that teachers be representative. I want to understand the concerns of as many people as I can, different groups too, whether it be those wonderful nurses that work in our hospital, the Hoboken University Medical Center, our fine police and fire department. They're always going to be in my heart. Of course. The police, the fire, and the teachers. And we want to work, obviously, public safety is a concern always in any community. You want safe streets, clean streets. I mean, I think that's another thing that needs to be addressed. But it takes that team, John. I just want to emphasize that to get this done. And that group of people, and there's many others that have been here to help me, and so many that I've grown up with. Because another key is, and not to belabor it, you never forget where you came from. Don't forget those people that helped you achieve where you are. And again, whether it be that person in the car wash, whether it be friends that I grew up with that call me consistently every day, are you okay? You need anything? Or give me that stay focused. George DiStefano, Terry Castellano. There's been so many good people that have, again, been there to advise and to help guide. And I also want to say that I think you need to work with developers, but we don't want density and growth in this city. We want moderate, and we want the developers to work with us to give back and help us with the things we need.
Responsible development. Yes,
responsible development, and that's, I don't have your poet wording with me, but...
Few people do, it's okay.
But, and one other thing I believe in too, we want to stress, to me, as a policeman also, former policeman, corruption. I will not tolerate any type of corruption. I've seen what happens.
Bold stance at Hudson County.
Well, to witness what has happened here over the last 20 years, and to see historically what people think, and you can't blame a lot of new people that come here and are wary. I think you have to be proactive more than reactive. You have to show that you're going to have policies in place to prevent that type of stigma or insinuation. And I look forward to, if I was elected, working with all members of the council. Obviously, not everyone is going to like me. Same thing when they go vote. You have to work, and you still have to try to win people over. When I took the West Point Command and Leadership course, and they always stress, even if you don't want to have out-groups out there, you got to work together with everyone. You're not going to please everyone. You can't promise, some candidates want to promise the world. It's not happening. You can't,
Which candidates are those?
Candidate is promising the world.
Okay.
But again, affordable housing is a big concern. We need affordable housing in Hoboken, the 10%, I know, but I'd like to see some buildings built, more of that completely affordable housing, which, is it possible? Hopefully we can get people to do that. Hoboken was known at one point for a lot of it affordable housing.
Gotcha. Freeholder, I think that's a good time to conclude. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your undivided attention. Next week, we'll be on a special Thursday edition of Hudson County Review Live, where we'll have Jersey City Ward E Council candidate Jake Solomon. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.